find that all that surprising. I also don't. I mean, I don't question those findings for one moment. I think they're very real. For me, my complaint is that if you're going to equate your standardized test scores when you're 16 and things that frankly most 16-year-olds are not invested in, right? It's not a meaningful personal goal. If you're going to equate that with success or even, with academic achievement, grades, for example, do not send all the same signal as your test scores. Grades are a better predictor of college persistence than your standardized test scores, so they're not interchangeable. There's information that's carried by, grades that's not carried by test scores. There's information carried by your extracurricular activities that's not embedded in your test scores. My complaint is not with the finding itself, but the idea that that is everything that we would need to know about success for those kids. So I guess that's the major thing that I'll say about that study. And I think that it's very important to recognize that grit isn't the only important thing in the world. I study high achievement in challenging circumstances. It's in those circumstances where the goal also matters to you that I think grit emerges as the most reliable predictor and not just a moderately predictive one.
Should we go back to a live question?
Yeah.
I got a live question.
Yeah.
What if you're applying your amazing grit to the wrong thing? Let's say I wanted to be a film star, but I have no grasp of what the world actually wants from a film star. When should I just say I should probably stop trying to do that and apply my grit to something else where I might actually be more successful?
Yeah, so for example, what if you're trying to be a film star and you're just disastrously untalented, right? There's like nothing that you could do that you would ever be, right? So that's one way that you could be wrong. The other thing that you could be wrong in is that you're picking an industry that like is going to melt like the polar ice caps, right? Like the whole industry is going to go away. And, that happens these days, right? In ways that are faster than before. So there's lots of ways that grit can get you into trouble, right? I think the question is this. You got to take risks in life. There's no getting away, really. Even if you do nothing, you're taking a risk. What grit means is to put your left foot in front of your right foot and then your left foot again and keep heading in a certain direction. And you're absolutely right that you might end up somewhere that you didn't want to be, but you can guarantee yourself that you'll never get anywhere by switching direction every few paces or not walking forward at all. So yeah, there's absolutely risk in being a paragon of grit, but I'd say there's a guarantee of failure at not being passionate and persevering.
So a related question to the one he just asked is grit in a continuum with obsession? Is there a bright line between grit and obsession, or are they unrelated?
No, I think there is actually a strong family resemblance between grit and obsession. One of the individuals that I interviewed, but I didn't put her into the book, partly because I forgot to push record when I was interviewing her, was Temple Grandin. And I don't know if you know her work, but she's famously autistic, and she writes about her autism. And in her words, a little bit of obsession gets a hell of a lot of work done. This idea that you wake up, I'm obsessive. If you woke me up at 3 a.m, which sometimes just happens to me, like you wake up and you have to go to the bathroom, and you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about grit. I'm thinking about, like, why did that person do that? It's so interesting. Like, where did they get them? I think about it all the time. I think about it in the shower. I think about it in yoga when I'm supposed to not be thinking about anything, but I'm thinking about grit, right? Like, Shavasana pose, you're supposed to be doing nothing, and I'm like, I wonder where that, is going to, it is an obsession. The difference maybe between the way most people think about obsessions and the way gritty people think about their obsessions is, when they say, I love what I do, they love that they love. There's no sense in which they would trade that life for any other, and that's how I feel about my own work.
I think we have time for one more question. Should we?
Hi.
Hi. So a lot of your examples of people that have shown great grit, like Julia Child, she starts at 30 and then becomes this great success, they all seem to be underdogs that then succeed. Do they have to be?
You don't have to be an underdog, but I am fascinated by underdog psychology because, and I'll say these words to you, and I wonder if they'll resonate. There is characteristic of many, many grit paragons that I've studied, a sort of I'll show you rebel, like, what, I don't think you're really cut out to be a programmer. Just this fear, it's an aggression almost. Yeah. And I felt that when I was, failing my neurobiology class my freshman year of college, and my very well-meaning teaching assistant, my TA, said, you really should withdraw from this course because you're going to get an F on your transcript, and you don't know this yet because you're 18. That's not a good thing to have, right? And I felt a kind of